Alright, so my name is Jim. We're going to try to document the first brew on this new to me Blichmann ProPilot electric system with RIMS rocket. It's going to be fun, I hope. Probably more funny. But I have not seen many videos on YouTube documenting the process on this specific system, with the exception of a short video by Blichmann that doesn't necessarily cover the transfer through the cooling apparatus and the functioning of the valves. So, alright, going to try this again. My name is Jim. I've just got this, which is a Blichmann electric RIMS ProPilot system. And what I'm going to do today, because partly I've never seen many good videos on YouTube with brewing on this system from start to finish, well, I'm going to document that little journey, and hopefully this won't be too full of mistakes or too much humor. Let's see. Yeah, the light pretty much sucks. Right now I've got it set up so that, just like Blichmann has it, I've had a couple of ideas of things I might try to change, but for now, one of the controllers here, RIMS rocket. I've been advised use empty buckets under the pumps in RIMS rocket, otherwise you're going to have a mess. And then, of course, that would be the hot liquor tank. This is the mash tun, and then the boil kettle, and then second controller, the Fermenter. One of the things that I've never seen documented well, and again, forgive the camera work, I don't have a good tripod and I lost the case for the GoPro, so it's handheld. But I've not seen a good start to finish video, specifically from the end of the boil process through the terminator into the fermenter. So I am going to try to show, they show this tube going back to the RIMS rocket as being connected to the terminator inflow. I made one modification just because I already had the setup for my other plate chiller to have quick disconnects, and so that's going to go into the fermenter, and we'll see how this goes. Alright, so the first thing I've got right here is I went ahead and filled some water. It's one thing I really like about the Blichmann system. It has the sight on the side, so you can, I'm sorry about the light's going to suck, but I've got 9 gallons in there. One thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to heat in the hot liquor tank, and then I'm going to transfer to the malt tank and start up the RIMS rocket and the controller for that. I don't really know that my system can run 2 burners at once because I've only got an extension cord with a split 30 outlet, a 30 amp 230 volt outlet, so we'll try it this way. It should work fine. It'll be fine. Alright, so I'm going to open up the field of view a little bit. Maybe the other one was a little too tight, but you can see that this thing is heating. I love the speed with which this thing heats. It's so far so good. The one thing that's going to take some getting used to is you have basically 2 heating elements, and they're not as straightforward as maybe a RIMS, although I guess in theory it's kind of the same thing. But one of the heating elements is obviously in the hot liquor tank, but the primary heating elements are, I don't mean heating elements, I mean the actual plugs. There are 3 heating elements, one in the hot liquor, one in the RIMS rocket, and one in the boil tank. And so the thing that's going to take a little bit getting used to is obviously heating the hot liquor there. When that comes up to temperature and transfer to the mash tun, what I'm going to have to consider is obviously you turn the pump on, after you prime it, and then once you get the water recirculating, you turn on the heat and do your mash process. And then at that point, always remember to turn off the heat before you turn off the pump. But then you transfer it to the boil kettle. The thing that's kind of weird is the boil kettle doesn't have a temperature probe, and so at the point you're boiling, that plug right there actually is the one that comes from the RIMS rocket. And so the thing that's kind of not intuitive is when you plug this one into the boil kettle, you basically just turn this thing on and set to, I guess, 212. I don't know how it has any feedback to do anything else. And I guess the power control, anyway, I don't know how you can really control your boil except for maybe cutting back on the power controller on the top, which we will probably experience today. And we shall see. A little better light over here. What is on slate today will be a black IPA, and right now while I'm getting used to the kit rather than delve into my stock, I just bought a couple of kits from the good folks at Texas Brewing, and we'll just see how they go. There's going to be some getting used to also with the volume differences. So like I was saying, with most kits, they're for 5-gallon volumes. And so I did that. The RIMS rocket and the tubing adds about 1 gallon. And so for right now, that might just be lost volume. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to actually disconnect the hose and try to recapture what's in the RIMS rocket to pour into the boil kettle. But so this first batch is probably going to be a little bit off on the numbers, but we'll see. Maybe the efficiency will be better and make up for some of that. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. As I'm getting ready to grind or mill my grain, just a little history. That's why I started with was the Robo Brew, and I still love that unit. I just was looking for something to try to maybe get a little bit more clarity of the work and to become a little bit more, I guess, advanced in my process. If you get one, they work great. That's a 110 volt version. It's slow to heat. There's definitely a temperature differential between top and bottom, even with the neoprene jacket. And other than that, it works great. I love the pump. I've never had the pump. I had one pump blockage, and what it was when I was recirculating my boil to try to equalize the temperatures better, the intake hose was a thin silicone hose, and the heat made it soft, and so it collapsed upon itself. So I took it apart and put a stiffer silicone hose, and I've had no more issues with that. One other thing I did do was get a 13-inch splatter guard and cover the screen with some really fine mesh stainless steel screen that I got from Amazon, and that did significant things to improve the work clarity and decrease the tube going into the fermenter. Of course, that's a Firmzilla. Not sure I'm a fan of that, so Mama's second rule. One thing that's changed my brewing immeasurably, purchasing a decent grain mill. It's a 3-roller. I won't say it's quite set and forget, but for the most of the styles I do, I can just leave it in a mid setting, slightly larger than a credit card, and my efficiencies, at least on the Brewfather system, we're in the mid 70s as far as mass efficiency, which I kind of think that's probably the best anybody really can do. I may have had 1 or 2 brews where I hit close to 80, but I wasn't really watching the numbers that well. So, but definitely went over the gravity and shouldn't have. So, not sure why I even put this in here. Most people have seen grain get milled, and you don't have smell vision, so it doesn't do you much good. But the smell is very nice. Uh-oh, I think my drill's drying. Anyway, I'll start back up when this is done. that's the end product. Yeah. Yeah, the quality of this first video is going to be somewhere between Blair Witch and, well, I don't know. I'm sure people will let me know. This is actually worth seeing. I don't know if the LED is going to show up well on this GoPro, but it's only been, what, maybe 20, 25 minutes since I turned this on, and it's already practically to, it's almost to the correct mash temp right now, and I'm probably just going to do a single stage mash. Okay, so this is the part where the actual, I guess my actual process will start. So the water temp's coming up. It's hot enough right now, and we'll start transferring it into the mash tun to get to you know, get ready to start mashing. So, and this is kind of the tricky part. I've already checked this thing for leaks. I had a slow little leak at the flow meter. There's no O-ring or gasket, and it's a hard interface. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be one. There might be one after this day. I don't know. We'll see. But other than that, so the way this goes is, of course, I've got all the valves closed. And let me put something out of the way. It'd be really great to soak the phone. And these pumps are not self-priming. So what I've decided that the best way to do that is to obviously open this up just a wee bit, and then pull the pump here. Yeah, that would be good. And this is closed. It goes through the RIMS rocket, and then once it comes through the RIMS rocket, this is supposed to be turned to the left. That opens the flow back to here. And actually, I guess at this point that I could close this and it'd have the same effect, because what I'm trying to do is build pressure and fill the RIMS rocket, and then I'm trying to build pressure from, not pressure, I'm trying to fill this and then build my column through here to fill through the autosparge. This is one reason I wanted to get the Blichmann too. This false bottom is awesome. I've not even used it, but it looks like it's perfectly fit, and I'm really looking forward to see how clear the wort is coming out of that first time. So got that on, and let me see, I think I've got about 11 pound. Let me see how many pounds I got. 12, I'm going to say 13. I'm probably going to start with about 20 quarts, which is what, 5 gallons. Actually, I'm probably going to start at 4.5 gallons, and we will see how that works out. So that little thing's for the hops rocket. So the RIMS rocket, you take that little screw loose down there, and what that allows you to do is you pull out the heating coil, and you can put the hops rocket, and that holds fresh hops. Pellets won't work with that. I mean, obviously you can see the size of the hole on that. It's way too big for pellets. There's no point in that. So, and since I'm using pellets today, I'm just going to use a good old hop strainer. So, all right, here we go. Let's see what happens. And we should have some flow. And it should be coming into the RIMS rocket. I'm not sure what to think about the, there it goes. Just filling this up. It's got a pretty good leak right there too. I don't know, that'll probably get better once it may just be that's the way it has to be. This is filling up, and what I'll do is just keep this pump going One thing I've considered is I'm not 100% a big fan of these Blichmann disconnects. I may get some quick disconnects, but that's like about $300 for all these quick disconnects, so maybe not right now. And like I said, we'll get up to the other thing I thought about was maybe make a longer hose, and for this process run it from the bottom of this pump, the output of this pump, which is here, and just take it straight to this bottom, and that way fill from the bottom. That way I can go ahead and have my grain in here and just fill it from the bottom up. Something to think about. I calibrated this thermometer too. Hopefully it's still calibrated. I don't know why it wouldn't be. And you can see the flow meter, and it's leaking. Yeah, dadgummit. I'm gonna have to try to do something. It might be one of those don't do what I do kind of situations, but I have some paper gasket material. I might be about to cut a gasket real quick, because if it's doing that with water, it's going to be one sticky mess. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to look at that. Maybe just yeah, where is that coming from? Jeez. Alright, I'm going to stop for this for a second. Alright, so I kind of jumped ahead a little bit. I had to fix that leak. It was leaking. I think I got it now. There's a little plastic insert upside down, and it seems to have fixed it. But I've reconfigured the pump. Now that the wort pump is taking it from the bottom of the mash tun through the valve, back into the RIMS rocket, out the RIMS rocket, back in through the autosparge. And I probably am going to have an issue with the arm length, it looks like. Again, this is the first brew, so I don't think I got a leak though. So that's good. Alright, so the other thing is, as I was talking about before, this controller does the RIMS rocket and the actual mash process, and this is plugged into the bottom of this. Oh, I don't know. Let's see if I can, like that. And the pump is going, so now it should be safe to turn this one on. And we're going to set this for 152. Oops. Dadgummit. I don't think a tenth of a degree is going to matter in the big scheme of things, but you see this is saying it's about 110, so my calibration may not be accurate. Maybe the thermometer's off too, who knows, if it's even covered. Oh, it's not, never mind. I don't have enough volume to cover it. Duh. Anyway, about to mash in. I know the picture's dark, I got too much water, but as I said, this is a learning process, and the things I'm learning, I'm going to step up and just do a 10-gallon batch the next time, because 5 gallons almost isn't enough volume to even cover the coil. Anyway, continue. So one of the things that can definitely happen with this system, and I almost experienced it, thank God I didn't have any work going through it yet, but one thing is You have to be careful about that heating element. You have to have it turned off if the pump is off. Otherwise, you'll either scorch your wort or burn up the coil. Burn up the heating element. So, and so far everything seems to be flowing well. I think the autosparge is not going to be so useful for this batch. It's so small. I need to get an extension arm for smaller batches. So I'm just going to kind of keep it at a relatively low flow. And as you can see, temperature is kind of got a little bit of an excursion. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit and see if I can control it better. Anyway, alright, so we're set for 60 minutes and we'll see how it goes. One thing I'm noticing, and I don't know if this is it's probably just something I have to get used to, but the and I'm sure it can be seen, but there's a little bit of a temperature oscillation. It's kind of like when you're cooking on a big green egg, I guess, but I'm hoping that oscillation will dampen over the next, I don't know, 10 minutes. We'll see how quickly the thing turns on the heat. So it looks like it's got maybe a degree set. Well, that may be a way to adjust that, and I'll look into that, but it should stabilize, I think. I'm probably just getting cold pockets of wort come through, and it's not, the wort's not consistent temp, even though you think it would be. I'll keep an eye on that. So it's only been about 3 or 4 minutes since the last little clip, and what I'm trying to show, the temperature oscillation is still there, but maybe it's a little more dampened. It definitely is more stable than it has been, and I could probably, frankly, decrease the flow rate, and it would probably improve that. But again, if this batch turns out great, then that's wonderful. If it doesn't, this really is more of an experiment, trying to get the system dialed in. It's definitely got some oscillation though. You know, the other thing I was thinking, the instructions were probably accurate in suggesting that you actually circulate some water in the mash tun before you mash in, rather than do what I did. And you know, by heating it in the hot liquor tank and then pumping in the mash tun, because there's no agitation in that hot liquor tank, and so I could easily see getting layers of water, and then you push it in here while you'd think it would mix. I've obviously got some part of the water hotter than the other. Of course, it's stabilizing now. It's just a little higher than I was hoping, and I'm sure they'll come on down once the column of water is more homogeneous from agitation, stirring, and all that good stuff. Boil off will help. So about 15 minutes in, it looks like it's still having some oscillation. It may be that I need to turn down the power setting, the power control. No air bubbles. And the amazing thing is, oh, that's too damn dark. Hang on. I don't know if that helps. That's some of the clearest wort I have ever made, and that's actually kind of amazing. And funny enough, the thermometer decided it's going to react. I hope I'm not backing up. I may have a stuck wort. A stuck mash. I gotta check and see. Yeah, so learning curve is kind of steep. I had it about 2 gallons per hour. 2 gallons per minute, and well, we're gonna see. But I had to adjust that. I think the flow was so slow that I was actually not getting enough flow through the actual heating element. Hopefully I didn't just roast my wort and my mash, but you can see now that it's opened back up a little bit on flow, the temperature is really falling off. So this batch is going to be somewhat of a mystery batch. I don't know if it turns out to even be slightly drinkable. I'll be very happy. It's funny. I probably shouldn't have filmed the first batch on this thing, but at this point it is what it is. So, a little update, probably about half an hour to go. The flow has stabilized. The system seems to be running well. The temperature is also stabilized. It's plus or minus about a degree now. Maybe, well, let's say that now it's a degree all of a sudden. But that seems to be where it should be, I guess. The biggest thing is, as pretty as that wort is, and I knew this was going to be a problem, I've got an air leak somewhere, and I think it's coming from the little plunger. I don't know if it's got an O-ring at the end of it or what. I'll take it apart after this brew and see. It may just have an O-ring that needs to be replaced. But the biggest thing is that the pH was a little high. It was 5.78. So I put some lactic acid in because, as I expected, but maybe to a greater degree than expected, the numbers are off. It's only, the gravity right now is only 1.028, and of course this is supposed to be around 1.06 or something like that. So I don't know if I can make up for that in the boil or not. We may try some I may try something like that. Obviously, if I reduced any volume, it would help. What's kind of funny is I had planned 5-gallon batch in the fermenter, and with all the losses and everything, I kind of thought this would be about a 6-gallon, and it is. But what I probably screwed up is it's got 6. Well, I had like 5.5 in the mash tun before I put the grain in, and so really at 6.5. So I'm off on my volume right there. Something definitely to take into consideration. And still maybe postulating how I can recoup the volume that's in that RIMS rocket, because it's like 0.79 gallons. So maybe put a valve on either side of that so I can block off the side to the water and turn off the side going back to the wort pump, so I can disconnect hoses and not get all smoked, and then drain it. I don't know, we'll see. I guess the other thing is just to take into consideration you're going to lose that and add the grain. I hate to waste grain like that though. That doesn't seem like the best way of doing it. Anyway, so far so good. It's just weak, but the color's not bad. We got some Columbus hops going to go in. And we'll see. I'm thinking in the future though I'm going to shoot for 10-gallon batches. Part of the trouble, this is a 20-gallon boil kettle, so this really is not an ideal size batch for this system. Ultimately what I bought this for was to get to a point where I'm doing 2, possibly 3 kegs per brew day, and I'm probably not that far from it. It's just volume and grain, but this first inaugural run is well, we'll see. It'll still be beer. So despite oscillation at the level of the temperature probe, I just measured this with a handheld, and it's 152, spot on. So my thermometer is a little bit confused. I'm going to see if I can recalibrate that, and I'm going to check the pH again since adding the lactic acid, just see where we are with that. Alright, so one more quick observation. I could never manage those flow rates. 3 gallons, or actually I guess that's yeah, gallons per minute. I could never manage 3 gallons per minute with the Robo Brew. There's just no way. And this thing is Granted, my ratio is way off, too much water, but this thing is pretty impressive in that regard. And I think I'm going to try and find a container, and it may end in utter folly, but I am going to try to see if I can drain the RIMS rocket and recover that wort to put in the boil pot. So, oh yeah, and the pH now is down to 5.55, so I think it's going to be, I don't think I'm going to mess with that. The enemy of good is perfect, you know. Guys, I wish the light were better in here, but I just had a duh moment. You know, if you think about it, the sparge water is going to be coming through that line right there into the RIMS rocket, out into the autosparge. That valve is obviously going to be flipped so that it's feeding the boil kettle. So basically, in essence, that will be coming from outflow to the inflow of the pump and out here. Point being, my concern about the wort still residing within the RIMS rocket is kind of moot, because as long as I flush it, in theory, and as long as there's not too much turbulence inside the canister there, then basically, as I put the sparge water through, of course I'm not going to need much, but if I put the sparge water through, then it's going to make clean water in there, pushing all the wort that's been circulating back into the bucket. Just at least that's what I'm thinking right now. We shall see. So the good thing is I just remeasured the SG is 1.045, 1.046 in there. So the conversion's not going as badly as I thought. It's still not where it needs to be. I'm hoping that I will be able to correct some of that with the boil, which will be coming up shortly. The other thing is, while it's off camera just then, I put some more water in the hot liquor tank, and let's see if I can heat both of these at once. I may not be able to. We'll try. If I blow a fuse, then well, I've got another option. And bring it on up to 170 or so. Yeah, that's good enough. We'll see what it does. Hopefully I won't blow a fuse. If it does, it does. And again, the trick's going to be, gotta turn the heating element off before I turn off the pump. I'm probably going to be honest with you, I'm probably going to turn off the heating element and let it circulate a little bit to get all the heat out of the element, and then go to move to the boil. Gotta say, for the first brew ever, considering my numbers are a little off, which not totally unexpected, maybe I'll recover that in the boil. This system is sweet. It's kind of everything I was hoping it would be. The oh, I recalibrated my thermometer. I don't know if you can see it because my camera decided to disconnect. I recalibrated it. I just hope this video can be edited together. And I'm going to change the intro maybe. I was pretty goofy on the intro. Still pretty goofy, but you know, what can one do? So what I've done, I basically turned the heating element off, moved it over here, and it's going to stay off until I get the boil pot full of wort, or at least the heating coil covered. Turned the pumps off. They're not noisy at all, but just I turned this one off. It's still configured to put out through the RIMS rocket. So what happens is this one has to go here. That valve should be open, which it is, and it's funny, it's almost flowing on its own. So this line right here should be isolated, and my sparge can be a little cold. You know, people can argue, but my experience has been that doesn't seem to be making much of a difference. And then we turn this on, and hopefully hang on, let me do this. Gotta turn this one on too. Since my autosparge isn't set up correctly, I'm gonna have to kind of wing it. I'll just eyeball it for now until I get the yep, it's coming in. Uh-oh, it's not coming in. Huh. Turn this off. So it should be coming in. There it goes. I got a little flow now. Let that catch up just a little bit. Alright, I gotta get all hands on deck. Alright, so I kind of had my hands full. And as I was thinking, you see that tube and the sight glass there for the flow meter are very clean. So that's just water. And so I need to get an extension arm if I'm going to do another small batch like this. I went ahead and put in 6.5 or 6 1/4 for target, and I guess now nothing to do but turn it on and let it boil. And I guess I'll control the boil with the power. We'll see how that goes. So one thing, well, let's see why this. One thing I did do, that port right there is whirlpool. And another reason I got this system is because it does have that whirlpool. You can see it's also got a hops blocker down there. We'll see how that works. But my thought is, in just a minute, I'm going to unhook that pipe going to the RIMS rocket and hook it to the whirlpool. The only issue that I'm going to have is the line that goes to the whirlpool ultimately would be the same line that's supposed to stretch over here, and I don't know that I got enough line. I measured it last night and it's close. If I need to, I've got an option. I'll just detach that and get it close enough. So I'm probably going to do some things off camera, let this come to a boil, but I'm probably going to get that set up with a garden hose and quick disconnect and clean my fermenter. And then, you know, in addition to cleaning the fermenter, I'm going to get everything set up so I can just pump from here into there. So I'm not going to bore people with the fermentate, or the fermenter cleaning. That's kind of boring. Put that together, and then I'm going to use that hop strainer to watch all this. So it's coming up to temperature quick. That's amazing. Hot break coming. Look how that boils right around the perimeter of the pot. That's pretty cool. And I've only got it set on 85% because I don't want to boil. I don't want to burn my wort. All right, looks like a boil. I'm fixing to put some hops. So this happens kind of quick, right at this point. I got the fermenter set up, and I've got a little heating pad in there, basically a battery warmer, and I'm going to use an ink bird to control that. I'll just say this SS Brewtech unitank is a 7-gallon, and I bought the not fancy spunding valve. Basically, you just turn the screw till the pressure's right, and I love it.
I may do a video when I keg, but my kegging process is quite boring. I have a Cornelius tap for that. And I just hook up CO2 to that and bring the bottle up. And actually, I just realized something I need to change right now. Well, it won't hurt it, but if this is set for 10 psi, then it can't overpressure, and basically I can control the tank pressure using this once it comes time to keg. And I usually set this like, I don't know, 10's fine, and then I'll hook the keg up with a spunding valve on the keg after purging with CO2 and sometimes star sand, and just so I can get all the dead space out. And then you just open it up, and 2 psi differential is plenty to fill a keg pretty quickly. And this time of year where I am, it's about 45 degrees, and you can, of course I'm in a garage, no heating and cooling, so anyway, you can see the condensation line come up the side of the keg, so you know it's full, other than the fact that if you just wait until the spunding valve overflows, that'll work too. But I'm about to get this fermenter hook up my water supply and everything. The boil is going marvelously. That's my hops strainer. You just gotta clean up some stuff, but this thing boils pretty well. I'm already down to almost 5.5 gallons. It boils off quicker than I thought it would. So I may go put my second edition of hops a little bit early. Kind of rearrange this better. Like that. Like that. And with any luck, all that's draining out of the RIMS rocket. You can see how much that still was, but it's pretty clear, so I don't think I actually lost too much. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I'm going to switch the input line for this line real quick. I'll be back. All right. So, I believe what now I have is it should come in there. I want it to come out there. And when I flip this bad boy on, it should give me a whirlpool. Note to self, don't use soft tubing for this. See if I can re-expand that. I guess I'm going to have to do that a little bit. Oh, duh. Like I said, it's a learning experience. And should have whirlpool. Get this out. And with this whirlpool, and I'm probably put some hops, the whirlpool hops just directly in. Call me silly, I'm gonna get all of that word out because my volume's a little off anyway. Uh-oh. Ah, mess. Yeah, it'll be okay, I think. I'm fixing to put the last hops in and let it sit for a bit. I'm going to reinvestigate this before next time. Basically what's happening is pumping it through my wort chiller, and I got it going through, of course that's cooling water coming through and going out. And then I'm coming into my fermenter here. The wort's about 64 degrees, so that's about right. And what I will do is I'll put I can turn this off, I don't need that anymore. So what I'm going to do is put the yeast in my hydrometer and plug it in, set it for about, I don't know, 68, 65, see how well the temperature holds. And this will be the last air this beer sees until it gets in the glass. This thing pumps pretty good. Excuse me. I gotta check the gravity real quick, see why I finished up. So it wasn't too bad. It was 1.050 going into the fermenter. It's still too dilute. I mean, it's supposed to be yeah, it's supposed to be 1.069. Way too little grain for the volume I was doing. So, note to self, sorry about the camera work again. This is first time. We'll see how it goes. Probably gonna be a lot of editing. A little hectic there, so I couldn't catch everything, but it's in there. I'm gonna clean that up with some Star Sand, and it's at 64 degrees. I just gotta pitch some yeast and put my tilt pie, or tilt in. It'll hook up to the tilt pie and go from there. Sorry about the shaky camera.